Welcome you to our April 9th City of Palatka Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. We'll have the invocation. We're going to ask that Mr. Suggs lead us in the invocation. We're going to ask Jeff Ross to lead us in the pledge.
Please bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we ask that you guide us and let us do things that would be good unto you tonight as we sit here as an elected and appointed body to do the good for this city, this community, this county. And I ask that these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Please join the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hill.
Here.
Vice Mayor Brown. Commissioner Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Boyle.
Present.
Commissioner McCaskill. Here. Mr. Deputy.
Here.
And Mr. Suggs.
Here.
All members are present and counted for, and you have a quorum.
Thank you. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes from the December 11th meeting of 2017?
Motion to approve. Second.
There's a motion on the floor, a second by Commissioner Boyle. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Got a few people here for public comment. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No action will be taken on topics of discussion. If you're here and you wish to speak during public comment, please fill out the yellow speaker cards in the back of the room. Bring them forward. If you're speaking on a particular agenda item, please check that box as well. And we will move forward. No action will be taken on topics of discussion. First speaker up, Ms. Dawn Ross.
First on the list, Dawn Ross, 225 St. John's Avenue, Palatka, Florida. I am coming up here on behalf of Life's a Stitch, and the SBDC has the help that Cheryl in particular has helped us with. And the article in Friday's paper was quite disturbing. That you guys are asking more information, and I don't know if being a taxpayer in the city or a business owner in the city, if we are supposed to come and talk to you guys and let you know that yes, she has helped us a great deal open our business. She has helped us with our business plan. She has helped us with getting a loan to buy equipment. And she comes in on a regular basis when we ask for an appointment to counsel us as far as paying sales tax and paying, employees and, all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to inform you guys that she is a big part of our community. And she, in my opinion, is the only one in the community that reaches out to small business and helps small business stay in business, because it is not easy to stay in business in Putnam County. We are the lowest paid people on the totem pole, and she does really reach out and help us in a lot of our questions and a lot of our deeds. And there was one rumor, Mr. Mayor, when I was talking to you earlier today, you had mentioned that you had asked me a question on when was it that Cheryl had an office at our Synergy location, and the answer is never. So on public record, I just want to make that known, because I don't want anybody to think that, she's doing us a favor by helping us in business. No, she is just a wonderful person in our community that helps small business.
Thank you. Anything from the agency?
I'm going to just go out on a limb and say, for your business, word of mouth is one of the best things. So she's working for us, so the word of mouth is what we're asking for. We're not asking for anything that we wouldn't require from anybody else. So that was my stance when we were coming from that meeting. What do we need? How close to the information that they can get us? And if not, get us as close as we can to the information. So we all know what newspaper job is. So I think we left it with the understanding of what it was that we wanted, how close can you get us there, and how do we move forward.
Mr. Minor, are you speaking during public comment or is there a specific agenda item?
Just about this here.
Come on up. David Minor.
David Miner, 220 St. John's on top of quite a few others. Cheryl's helped me out several times. She's come down regarding loans and information, how to get one of my museum out. There's there's nothing that the city or chamber or anybody helps. She's come down and helped me with signage and stuff like that. It's on a smaller scale, but she's been there and she's helped me. She's taken time and made appointments. We need everybody to go uphill, not downhill. We've got, the city's got turned over now to the county for inspection stuff, and y'all got rid of Bruce. That was a mistake. But, she's been there and helped me and provided a lot of information that I needed and a lot of resources. So we need to help her, keep her here, and actually boost what she's doing, not hinder what she's doing.
I have a question on that. You said we got rid of Bruce?
Yeah.
My understanding of Bruce seen his resignation.
Well, whatever. I'm just, I don't know the facts of it. I just know he was very helpful in the city.
Yeah, we the elected body, we do not hire personnel or anything from that level. It's recommended by the city manager for those roles, so we did not per se get rid of Bruce.
Yeah,
Bruce sent a letter of resignation.
Okay, that's fine, but I also know there's been other recommendations and y'all ignore the recommendations. So let's start working together a little bit.
We appreciate whatever your comments were. Thank you. So, one thing we're going to do in here is just kind of have the dialogue stick to whatever your topic of discussion is. If you want to talk after the meeting, then you can give each other's number and talk. We're going to make sure we handle this properly. Ms. Cooper?
Alice Cooper, 2006 Carr Street, and I'm also part owner of South 2nd Street Treasures, which is at 108 South 2nd Street. We're a new business that had been open just a year when Irma hit. The roof of our building blew off, which didn't really affect us financially as far as the building, because our landlord took care of that. But in the meantime, we had 2 months that we were going to be closed. We had vendors that initially it was working. We had different vendors, so their rent paid our rent. And then we all made a little bit of money to be happy. Well, we got the vendors' stuff all packed up in 3 days and our stuff, and then it kind of hit, what are we going to do now? So we went around town to see if there was a place that we could maybe land for 2 months as a little pop-up. Well, that wasn't going to work with rents of buildings and the condition that the buildings were in. So Cheryl's name came to us through I don't know how, and she helped us apply for the Florida Bridge loan, which was relatively simple to do, but between us we have 2 master's degrees, but it was still like, this is what we're supposed to put here. The deal with that was we could get the money to kind of stay open and buy new product and maybe change our business plans if we didn't have to have vendors. We could just do it on our own. So we got that loan at 0% interest for 180 days. And when it was due, March 31st, they came for your firstborn if you didn't pay it all back. So the deal then was to apply for the FEMA loan to be able to pay back the bridge loan. FEMA loan was like working with your worst nightmare ever. It was 22 pages of instructions for about maybe 4 or 5 pages of meat to really put in. It meant scanning documents, sending. She met with us at my house for about 3 hours going over, and I think that's what kind of irked me in the paper when it says if you're getting a check, you need to come when you feel like. Just because she's not at the building, she's still doing work. She helped us tremendously that time and then the other time, and I just want to say, without her, we'd be closed right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Brent?
My name is Linda Brent. I reside at 133 Browning Lane in East Palatka. Between my husband and I, we employ over 50 people through our small businesses. We would not be where we are without people like Shelley. And I think that it's an atrocity what you're trying to do. I consulted my attorney today, and he said to ask you, what is the citation of authority? What is the statute? What is the law that allows you to ask for specific information from small business owners? I think that you're invading our privacy. I can tell you right now, if you're not part of my business, you have no right to have my information. And there is no way that I would be willing to give you that. And you're trying to base the numbers that she is giving you on information. You either have to trust her as an honorable person and a person of integrity, or you don't. One way or the other, but you can't have it both ways. And I absolutely think that you're invading our privacy.
So what did we ask for? Did you get the information from the newspaper? Specifically, what did we ask for?
Specific financial information.
Did we?
How
We
much
didn't.
loans? How much loans?
We didn't.
No, we did not.
Well, it just
You
looks
read
to me
you
like,
got that from the newspaper?
you said, what it says in the paper, what it says in the paper is that you were asking for information and that you wanted backup numbers to provide the information on the number, the amount of loans that she has created and the amount of profit that she's put back in the county. You have no right.
Well, I didn't read the paper. I was at the meeting, but thank you.
But at any point, did she consult with you?
No, we're fine. We're fine.
I'm just...
We're fine. Thank you.
I have his name, do you want it?
Thank you.
Al Holbrook.
Thank you. Great. Mr. Rawls, about that.
Are we skipping straight to number 2?
Are you on number, you're for a specific item? Okay. No, I got
I'll be more than happy to.
you. No, we're not, Jeff.
Okay.
Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Moving on to item 1 of the agenda, riverfront traffic calming. Actually, recognition of new member, Terry Suggs. It's not really new, it's just new to the agency. So again, Mr. Suggs, we welcome you here in a different capacity. Familiar territory, different capacity. And so again, we thank you for your presence. And we look forward to working with you. And it's good to have that seat from the county commission side, Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my pleasure to be here.
Moving on to regular agenda, River Street commenting, follow-up from 327.
Yes, sir, thank you. At the last meeting, you directed staff to get some preliminary numbers for a couple of the items that were requested. Those were reflective pavement markings, along with some striping and some signage. The signage was already in the works and included in this year's Public Works budget for streets. The RPMs, in addition to the at-grade enhancements or the brick crossing enhancements, would total, if you did all 3 intersections, total over $111,000. The cost per intersection varies from anywhere from $25,000 upwards to $50,000. Those intersections that you asked staff to look at were Morris Street, River Street, Kirkland and River and Laurel. At this point, you have the information to move forward on the larger project. Actually, forgive me, the RPMs is a much smaller cost. It's about $1,000 to $2,000 to put the RPMs along the curb with the striping. So that is something you wanted to move forward with. You do have $50,000 within this year's budget. I believe there is going to be a TIF fund report. That number may have to come down based upon some other expenditures, but you do have the money within this year's budget to do that. You do not have enough money in this year's budget to do the at-grade enhancements at all 3 crossings, and it probably would be wise to move forward with that since all the infrastructure improvements, including the potable lines, is not complete yet, and those lines will be crossing River Street. Any questions?
RPM.
Reflective pavement markings.
Thank you.
Is River Street also not maintained by the county?
It is, sir.
Are we asking them to chip in on this project?
That request has not been made, sir.
if it's maintained by the county, Mr. Chairman, should we not ask them to help out?
Sure can.
Question?
I know the county manager is right now.
I mean, and the reason I say that is I am now paying more in all of my property is in the city, but I pay more in county taxes than I do city. And so I think the partnership there should swing both ways. We're chipping into the county. I think the county should chip into the city, so a request should be made for 50% since they maintain this street.
I second.
But someone looking for a response from this end?
No, you can just take a mental note,
Yeah.
you can write it
I
down.
took a mental note and a physical note. but-
Was that a motion? Because he seconded.
Do I need to make an emotion?
No, I was just kidding, but you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we ask the
we direct
county,
staff?
say that again?
That we direct staff.
To direct staff to ask the county for 50% chip in on the total project
Second.
instead of cutting back.
It's a motion on the floor in a second. Is there any further discussion?
Which project?
I was just gonna say that,
I
which
think it was a
project?
discussion.
'Cause there was-
Let's throw them all in there.
On the River Street Total Streets project?
If they're supposed to be maintaining it, yes.
Second.
Motion on the floor in a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I've got a discussion topic or two on that. As I sit here as the county administrator today, I don't have an issue at all with us looking at whatever partnerships we may be able to form on this project. However, I think there needs to be further communications between the Public Works Director's offices and my office about what projects we may be looking at in the future. I think it is a county-maintained road, but let's don't forget where it lies. It lies within the city limits of Palatka. So,
Now, we help with St. John.
Let him finish, Mr.
so
Brown.
my point is I think it would behoove all of us, before we get too far down the road, to start having those conversations of what it is that we may or may not be able to enter into, especially when we're fixing to open up into our budget negotiations here pretty soon. So, it's, the county administrator doesn't have an issue with at least looking at what we may be able to partner with.
It's City of Palatka is in Putnam County too, just for the record.
And we need to remind you that we chipping in with
I didn't
St. John's Avenue, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we supposed to be helping the resurfacing St. John's, tip the tat.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I didn't realize this was a hostile seat.
You know, you said it like this, I've been here, you should know
Pay
that.
those taxes, that's what
Mr. Poston.
I think just too, as a point of clarification, the county already pays for half of the CRE funds. They already contribute half of the CRE funds.
Oh, I understand that, right. But I'm contributing to that with my taxes to the county. So I understand that whole thing, but if it's a maintained county road, if the county maintains the road, I think there should be some discussion as to chipping in for this project.
Again, I think this is all good conversation. I do believe the city manager has a very valid point that we need to be very careful in what we're doing here. But I have absolutely no issue with sitting down with staff and seeing what we may or may not be able to partner with.
Very well. There's a motion on the floor in a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We've got some speaker cards as it relates to this matter. Susan Player.
Susan Clare, 140 Height Road, Palatka, Florida. I think I sat in the wrong place because I could not understand a word y'all were saying. What did you decide to do?
We're going to ask for 50% from the county based on the motion that was in place.
That's what I'm trying to, what did they decide to do? The bricks, the strips?
It's going to be the recommendation was to do the striping.
Do the striping and not do the brick
And the
overlay?
bricks were part of it, yes.
Bricks are part of it, because I had wondered why we could not get a sign coming down River Street from Height Road down Silver Lake Drive, entering, the South Historical District. You have one at the other end, which is very nice, but one at that end and just say, welcome to our South Side Historical District, the speed limit is. And then if you have the bricking to back it up and the stop signs at the other place.
But But there is no final decision on what we're gonna do.
That's just an idea to throw at you.
Right, right.
That's all that is, because I know, let's throw it and see if it sticks. But, you know, I drive down that road, and I'm not real sure where South Historical District actually starts, coming that direction. Does it start at the railroad track? Does it start at the top of the hill? Does it start after the Cypress Point? Where does it start?
Morris.
On Morris, is where it starts? That's, you know, we don't have a clue coming the other direction when you enter it. And we know where the speed limit signs are, and I know where the cops sit. But I don't speed going down that road anyway. But, you know, I enjoy the scenery, so the 25 miles an hour doesn't bother me at all. But that's just an idea. Can we get, y'all think about a sign at that end saying you're entering into the South Historical District, you know, and let people be aware that they're there. You have it coming the other way. And I just, you know, I never knew where it started. So thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Ms. Kitchens.
Illegally Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street. First of all, not with my county tax money you're not, and not with my city tax money you're not. Now, if you want to take the C.R.A. funds and do that stuff on River Street, that's fine. I actually have no objection to the reflective pavement markers. Those are flat, they're not obtrusive, they don't cause any problems with the cars. I think the brick intersection enhancements are totally useless, but if they're flat and there's no hump or anything that causes a problem with your car, again, I have no objection to that. Have no objection to the signing, as long as it's not coming out of my city tax money or out of my county tax money. Now, as far as the county paying half of this so-called enhancement of calming traffic on their collector road, as a county taxpayer, I think, maybe the county would like to get the city to reimburse them for the past 40 years that they've maintained St. John's Avenue and River Street. Don't do that to my county tax money. Don't do that to my city tax money. The historic district is the one that wants River Street traffic calm, not the citizens of Putnam County. However, y'all have voted, so you're going to ask the county to pay 50% of this $111,000. Well, that's fine, but you better get a vote of the county citizens that use that road and get their opinion also. But again, I don't mind what y'all got here listed. The reflective markers are okay, and brick enhancements are fine. Signage is fine. I like Susan's idea of putting a sign in the Morris Street area telling you that you're entering the historic district. But again, don't put anything on River Street that's going to obstruct the cars or cause any kind of a noise. And I'd request you raise the speed limit back up to 35 miles an hour, just like Mosley and just like Hudson Avenue. River Street is no more special than that, and there's more residences on those two streets than there are on River Street. And I travel River Street, and I don't mind going 25 miles an hour. I go a little bit faster sometimes if I'm in a hurry, but I don't mind going 25. I prefer 35. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Griffin.
Bob Griffin, 309 River Street. I'm just trying to get people to stop running into my house. I hope that if you look at the curve on River Street there, you'll see, if you stand there and watch people, you'll see car after car after car can't stay in their lane. They come around that curve, it's a little sharper than people think. The RPMs down the middle of the laning will help. That will give a little auditory signal, so, you know, and let them know the faster they go, the more they'll hear. I would like to see some RPMs on the inside lane marking the bike path, because people cut into that bike path too. If you give the vision of a tighter lane, you'll have people slow it down. We've got to engineer the environment. This River Street doesn't look like it did 100 years ago. You know, it was much narrower. Things are changing. We also need to have that four-way stop sign at Laurel Street. That has been, right now, drivers kind of sense that it may be a four-way stop, and the Laurel Street drivers are starting to jump out there in front of people. I've had several people talk to me and say that they're kind of anticipating that. It's a natural spot for it. And just because there was a stop sign on down River Street years ago, that really doesn't have much to do with this situation. That was placed arbitrarily in the middle of a throughway, and there really wasn't the cross traffic there to justify the stop sign. That's why there were so many problems and people didn't like it. Here at Laurel Street, we've got a different situation. We've got increased pedestrian traffic, that's excess of the park, somebody's going to get hurt. Laurel Street has been taken from a jog to a straight, and I think it'll be a great benefit to get traffic down to an appropriate level, traffic speed down to an appropriate level in that area. Textured crosswalks, I think, is a great thing to the extent that we can afford them. The RPMs don't cost much. I'd love to see reboundable delineator poles, not just because I like saying those 3 words. That really slows people down. That'll help, but I don't know if that's on the table or not. As far as assignment, the other end of the thing, I think I'll take the message back to the South District Association that I'm active in and suggest that the South District look into that. I think there's an issue as to where you can place a sign on private property or public property as far as that, but not a bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Last up, Ms. Kravitz.
Linda. Linda Kreider, 116 Kirkland Street, one house off of River Street. I just wanted to support the fact that I believe the reason we are coming before the C.R.A. board is because this was a budgeted item from the South Historic District TIF funds. So that, in fact, the funding source is associated with the neighborhood and the neighborhood's request to try and deal with speeding traffic on River Street. So that if we're able to put our good faith and tax money forward to say this is a high priority for us, I think that's why it's coming before the C.R.A. So it's not a general tax fund as was suggested. When I walk downtown or bike ride by downtown almost daily, or several times a day, and the sidewalk project that was done on Memorial is beautiful. The bricked crosswalks, the striped crosswalks, linking them together, that was part of the design, I think, is excellent. And what I'd like to see is that that theme be continued as money is available, starting at Laurel, because right now the sidewalk comes out at Laurel and there's no crossing. If you continue across to the sidewalk on River Street, on the west side of River Street, the sidewalk comes to the edge and ends. You have to walk across the grass and then walk across the street to get on the sidewalk. So it's a natural place where that continuation of the sidewalk plan should go into effect. And I don't know whether that's part of the overall idea Jonathan has once the water pipes and the different things are going to happen there. But that, to me, seems like that's the first place, and it would help calm that intersection there at Laurel and River and create that concept as you're going southbound on River Street. Eventually, I think if one can be also created on Morris at the other end, that gives sort of a gateway concept on either end of, okay, you're entering a different area here. As money is available and maybe the TIF fund from the South Historic District can continue putting money up for that, then maybe we do it on a basis by each intersection as we can afford to do it. But I think the bricking helps a great deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, discussions as it relates to item 1? Any further comment? Seeing none, we'll move to item 2. Small Business Development Center Memorandum of Agreement, discussion and recommendation of MOA. Ms. Donaldson? Or Mr. Holmes, which one would you like to come forward and speak on the matter?
Thank you. Janice Donaldson, 12000 Alumni Drive, Jacksonville, Florida. I had submitted the draft memorandum of agreement. It mirrors the memorandum of agreement draft that was sent and approved by the county attorney to be presented to the county commission. And then there were a couple of changes that were suggested regarding the quarterly reporting and the dates, that we changed the date from the 1st to the 15th to enable us to process the data for the quarterly report to accompany the invoice. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Last page, under miscellaneous, provides that any legal action arising in connection with the agreement shall be brought in the 4th Judicial Circuit in the state of Florida, which is, of course, Jacksonville is the biggest county in the 4th Judicial Circuit. But historically and consistently, I recommend that any contract the city enters into, if there is a dispute, goes to court, it be litigated in Putnam County. Since the services are being provided here and the money is coming from here, it only makes sense that any litigation that arises occur here. So I would be suggesting that change to the CRA that moves forward.
The only thing that I would add to that is this is a University of North Florida Board of Trustees contract, so that language was all added by the University of North Florida. So whatever changes you want to make, I would have to take to the attorney there for.
Everybody wants to fight on their home ground, but when you have a choice, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the city to pay me to go to Jacksonville to litigate for a service that's happening in Putnam County being paid for with the city of Palatka funds. It's just my thoughts. But they can, of course, decide to do as they choose. That's not a unique suggestion that I have with this contract, though. It's one that I have with every contract.
Any other comments?
I just think it's a fair request to at least ask and see if it can be done. That'd be great.
So would you provide me with the language for that?
Sure.
Yeah, and I'd be more than happy to see it.
How would you like me to provide it to you?
You can just email it to me if you
Okay.
want, and I'll change it and run it
Great.
up the flagpole.
Okay, fine, sure. Happy to.
Any other comments? Any questions?
Well,
Is the county giving you all any money to keep it going?
I can respond to that, Mr. Mayor. There is a potential agreement on the Board of County Commissioners' agenda for tomorrow.
Do you mind us asking you what's your funding level?
Our funding level, I believe, is $12,000. I'm pulling up the agenda now, look at some further documents.
And I have one further comment, Mr. Mayor, and this is a question as much as it is a comment. Is this $20,000 that contemplated by this contract coming from the CRA fund?
Correct. I mean, yeah, it's all coming from CRA.
So does that mean that all the services have to benefit the CRA district only?
That's a good question.
It does mean that.
It does mean
Correct.
But I don't know if that's what's contemplated by the agreement. I mean, as you know, state law requires that CRA funds be spent in the CRA district.
Correct.
So assuming that this purpose is one that is contemplated by the CRA plan, and it may very well be, I mean, I'm sure you can, there's some general policy provisions in the CRA plan that this may very well fall under, but still, the money that the city contributes, if it's from CRA funds, would have to be spent in the CRA district.
Absolutely.
And that's not discretionary, that's, obviously state law.
Yes.
And I guess the only concern, I'll bring it up. The only concern I have is that the funding levels from the city exceed those from the county. And I want to make sure that I'm reading the report right that we got back that goes from October 1st until March 31st. When it says the grand total of distinct customers at 7, and the total records at 8. Is that saying there's only seven people that were, what's that saying?
There were 38, there were actually 38 distinct customers.
And so it says, I'm looking at the report that says, it's the MIS documentation, that says distinct customers from 10/1 to 3/31/2018. It says distinct customers 7, total records 8.
Yeah, that's, you must just be looking at a specific population, because if you look at the client totals by center, for Palatka, it's 38 distinct customers, 8 pre-venture, 12 startup, and 20 SME.
So where's that
I'm not
located?
sure what you're,
I'm looking at the
Looking at what was
MIS.
sent today, yeah.
It was
I
the
mean-
second tab that came in, it was under MIS documentation.
Yes.
It says 7 distinct customers. Now, I'm just trying to get clarification, because the numbers seem low.
I'm just looking for which page of that.
Page 1.
Commissioner Gill.
Impact by center.
Oh, that's impact.
Impact by
Yeah,
center.
that's right. So there were 7 distinct customers that reported impact on the verification attribution forms that are required during that time period. So the impact that's listed below is for 7 different clients that reported impact, not were assisted.
So those are people that voluntarily.
Yes. Those are people that said, you help me and I'll sign the verification attribution form to that effect. And, that's what we'll see more of for impact comes from our annual survey, which will be administered May 1st.
Is the city considered to be the hosting entity?
From, in the MOU or,
Yes, ma'am.
no.
Who is the hosting entity?
When you talk about the location,
Right.
the location would be the location that hosts the actual physical location of the SBDC, which would be the downtown Palatka group where the center is currently located. And it says that just to make sure that you don't think that the city of Palatka is responsible for providing a free location. They're just hosting our location.
Who is?
The downtown
Yeah.
Palatka DPI.
Yeah, Downtown Palatka Inc. is hosting this office at our Welcome Center.
Okay, cool. I was just looking at location, and it states that the consultant will be housed in an office with unfettered access located in the city of Palatka and provided as an in-kind contribution by the hosting entity. The hosting entity isn't identified.
Because that could change, to be honest with you. I mean, the hosting entity used to be the Chamber of Commerce, and now the hosting entity is DPI.
Okay. So within the city, there's 38 consoles?
Yes, 38 individual clients.
And what about during that same period for the county?
Oh, I didn't run the county numbers.
So, I see, looks like we got a county report that shows like last quarter of the fiscal year at 67 total for the county.
So that would include the city as well as the
Right,
county?
that would include both, right?
Yeah, I didn't run any county numbers for this report, only city.
So is the city getting more consoles than the county, or how did the numbers play out?
I mean, actually, going through the exercise of running these numbers with the documentation, that's what I'm planning to run for the county from now on. Because I thought, I already got this menu, if you will, so I could compare those side by side. But I don't have the county numbers with me.
Okay.
So were you aware of the restriction that the funds, if they come from the CRA, have to be used inside of the district?
No,
Does that cause a problem?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't really even know the parameters of the CRA district as opposed to the city of Palatka as,
And I appreciate that. That's why I thought that, we might have to have some discussion about that. So, well, we've got the downtown business district would be probably the one most eligible for business development. Sam?
Yes, that the topic that you bring up is unique, and we have not thought about that in all these years that we've been funding it from the CRA. That hasn't come up at this board meeting. But it is a thought that we need to give, because at that point, if we're going to adhere to that, we need to have the CRA chip in, the City of Palatka General Fund chip in, and then
That's probably correct.
and
What
then
you just-
I would expect the county to double its contribution, because I think we're bringing the county along, to be honest, nothing personal, but I think we would probably have to divide it up to three.
I would suggest that as a practical matter, that probably is the best solution, because I think to try to track all of their visits and consults back to a CRA district is going to be probably impractical.
I agree with that.
So that if you did have contribution coming from both the general fund as well as a CRA, then I think that there would not be a technical violation, or at least one of spirit, and you can simply say that we understand that, given the fact the Central Business District encompasses a large part of downtown, but it wouldn't encompass, for instance, anything out on 19 or any of that location. But if you had contribution from both, I think that distinction could be blurred some.
Because right now you look for a trash can to see if you're in the city or not in certain areas. We all know that.
It depends on the trash can was stolen.
It depends on, yeah, that's true. That you take the city can, but to have three funding sources now, DPI is pleased to host. I mean, we're excited to host the office and have absorbed all of those expenses thereof into our budget, because so we're just pleased to be a partner with that. And so we would then have basically 4 partners working together.
So my suggestion is that we make some budget amendments to adjust to $12,000 from the CRA, $8,000 from the city's general fund, so that we cover all our bases. The only concern I have, and I'll put it on the record, is I think there are more consultations probably done just based on the reports that I've seen in the breakout, that they are off of this, and it could be seasonal, and it may vary. But I think that there may be more consultations in the county than there are in the city, and that would be a logical conclusion based on the 7 times more citizens, 7.5 times more citizens in the county than in the city. But I also think that so as the city goes, so as the county goes, and the bulk of your business districts are going to be inside of the city and have some distinct impact from a spending standpoint on the city. So I don't necessarily have complete angst about contributing more than the county. I would like to see the county increase their support and other entities as well. But overall, I think that if we can do a breakdown from that standpoint, and as time goes on, I think this report is sufficient for what I've been asking for, different than what the newspaper may have reported. But I think that it at least gives some idea of where the consultations are. It gives an idea of what the impacts are within the city as a whole. To be able to look at a report and tell that there's $115,000 going to local business owners, and to be able to help them out, or that the impact is 7, it impacts 7 businesses in a particular way. That information becomes valuable for us to gauge, what are the valleys, what are the peaks, and go from there. And so I think that's beneficial, but I would want to have the breakdown, and I agree wholeheartedly with council. And that was one of the things that I was talking to the city manager about, was just trying to make sure that we put that in place so that there is no confusion as to where we are. And it may require giving you more insight on where the line breaks down for the CRA districts as a whole, so that you can, so if we need to, for all the purposes, we've got everything in place.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. My main goal after our meeting last week and in running all these reports was for you to feel confident. When you see the activity report, you can track it back to actual numbers in the center MIS system. So that was my main goal.
So, Mr. Chairman, do we need a motion to split the funding up?
Well, first, I have a couple questions first when we start splitting up the money. I'll let you go first, Vice Mayor.
I want to know if the city has the funds to do that with. We haven't been able to give our staff, any of the people that work for us, a raise in 3 or 4 years.
Didn't last year.
I think it's 5% raise.
But it wasn't that much.
5%.
5%?
We did 5%. We hadn't been giving them any before then. I think they got 3% 1 year and then they haven't been able. And when people ask us to divvy up, I like to know if we have the money to do it with and where it's coming from.
I think we definitely have the money. We're not talking large sums of money. We budgeted $20,000 last year from the C.R.A. I think to pull money from the contingency from the general fund isn't a very difficult thing to do. I think the other part is when businesses are able to sustain themselves, then we find that money coming back into the city. We find businesses expanding. We find people coming in with discretionary income, all those different things. And then the way that we build the city up is through entrepreneur spirits. And so if we can build a city and create jobs, if it's 2 at a time, if we can do that with 60 people, then we can change the dynamics of what we have in downtown and the community as a whole. And it's just the impact. But ultimately, I think it boils down to accountability and being able to see the reports just as this report was. And I'm glad that it came in the time that it did so we can have this discussion. But these reports are exactly what we were asking for before. And I think it just creates measuring rods for all of us. When I look at this MOU, it gives distinct paragraphs of what measurables are. And it gives, I mean, it's kind of bare bones as to how we measure success, but it at least gives us the categories of how we begin to measure it. And it starts a process. And so, you know, it's a lot, to me, it's a lot easier to pay someone $20,000 to start working on business development than it is to hire a full-time employee with benefits to do the same thing. And it's just a matter of making sure that the relationships are such that it continues to be a benefit to everybody. So I don't back down on my statements of accountability. And I think that there has to be accountability and there has to be a good relationship and the steps are being made. And so that's what this is all about.
Mr. Chairman. Ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I agree with the accountability, and I love seeing reports. I love seeing, because the numbers speak. But I want to go beyond that. Since the SBA office, SBCA,
SBDC.
The ABC's offices in the Welcome Center, Cheryl has been mentoring the Downtown Palatka Inc. officers, and she has brought in speakers to us that we would not have been able to procure, including the state person of the SBAC and, you know, people we couldn't touch. She's been able. Next that we have coming in is someone to teach us about cybersecurity. We could not afford to bring in an expert. This will be free to us, free to the community, and we welcome anybody to our meetings. So, you know, it's open and things like that we can't touch. But the other thing, she helped us because we wanted a 50C3 number under our 50C6 number. And we just didn't think that was possible. But Cheryl walked us through that process to where we got our paperwork correct. Everything was, you know, and it was just perfect. And it sailed through all of the hoops that we had to sail through. Saved us a ton in resources.
She added a 1 in there too.
Probably did. Thank you. So anyway, we have benefited by her mentoring, and she meets with our officers every month. So we are benefiting from this mentoring, which then passes down to these other businesses.
So we talked about opening up communication so that we get more people in the room.
Yes.
And being able to spread it out through all our networks.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we talked about last was being able to help disseminate information more from the city side. You know,
yes,
through electronic media, and through however we can get the information out. And so I think all that becomes part of the benefit. I've got one speaker before we make our motion. Can I?
I got a couple questions. We'll move on.
Go ahead.
The number 7, Is that repeat people? How was distinct customers generated? So if I came in January, October, and then came again in January, am I counted twice or am I just counted once?
You're counted just once. The
All right,
distinct customer is by individual.
All right, only 38. Is the same thinking apply on the 38?
Yes.
So all of those are different people. So
Yes.
if they came in January and they came in October, they're not counted twice.
No, because if you look across the bottom of the 38, like I'm looking at the one that says pre-venture, startup, and SME. If you look across the bottom, it says 38 distinct customers and 110 sessions. So what that means is those 38 people came in for 110 appointments. You know, I mean, the 38 people, they could have come in 3 times, one could have come in just once.
Cumulative all of.
Yes, so
Okay.
those 38 people participated in 110 sessions. And for the 184.95 hours of consulting. So some people come in only once, you know, they get what they need, or sometimes if they're thinking of starting a business and they hear some of the things they need to consider, they decide not to do it. I mean, you know, they just don't come back. And then there's some that'll come in, you know, if they're working on a loan package, they might come in 5 or 6 times, you know, practice their pitch.
Depending on the complexity
Yes,
of
exactly.
All right, so we talking 5.4 new people a month on average. 38.
Well, you know, just.
And I can tell you why I'm asking this,
Yeah.
because Vice Mayor Brown is correct. We finna get ready to decide on moving now $8 grand from the general fund to support this program. That's gonna go for business development, and I'm all for business development. But there are other things that are just as equally as important as what you guys are doing. So I will tell you this, as we move forward in this relationship, the same experience that we just had with documents not being shared, with asking multiple times for things, I can tell you right now, I'm not going to be in support of that moving forward.
And I wouldn't blame you.
Because there's a lot of things we could do for employees, there's a lot of things we could do for citizens at large that we're now going to do for a niche market within our city. So I will tell you that, just so you know straight up front, going out the gate. I want to be very transparent with you, because I got employees listening to this, and they finna see us get ready to decide on $8 grand. And I got to be able to speak to that, all right? So I respect what you guys are doing, wish you guys the utmost success in it. I really do. But I just want to let you know that, like as the mayor said, that level of accountability is going to be high, because now we're dipping into the general fund to be able to take care of these things, and that's a cost for us.
And
So
8
thank you.
And 8 is a number that I threw out, and it can be any number of any variation of that number to get us to where we are. But I put 8 out there just as a number.
Well, and I would just say that, you know, if we're agreed on this format for reporting, we'll provide this every quarter, and then obviously it's this body's decision. If you decide this isn't enough for our investment of the funds, then, you know, you'll decide whatever you decide. I stand by my program, and I think we do a lot of good work, and we help a lot of small businesses, but, you know, that's your decision to make.
It's the way the county is getting the same level of service. We don't need this money. County needs to check.
The address, I'm sorry, the addresses that we know, that we put in,
We did provide a notes page to explain some of the questions we were asked, like what were jobs retained and, you know, what was, and so the bottom just simply states that this quarterly report only includes activity that's classified as Palatka. So when we run these reports, if it doesn't say Palatka, then, you know, if a person's thinking about, they have an address out in the county, but they're going to open in downtown Palatka, you know, that's not going to be captured. So, you know, if they're expanding in Palatka, or they're opening a second location, or they want to move here from Wyoming, I mean, none of that is captured unless the person is listed as a Palatka address.
And you know what, to go to Mayor's point, is there any way you can provide the county's information as well? Because he had a very good point. At some point, we're going to need to compare and contrast,
Yeah,
because
no, I can run that.
we're paying more for a service, and they're getting the same level of service as us, but they're paying way less. You see what I'm saying? So it'd be good to see their numbers separate from ours.
Sure.
So we can have that level of comparison, because he has a good point there to be able to determine where we're at cost-wise.
I don't know if we know the exact thing, how much more they're getting than we are, but it would be good for them to run it, then kind of make that determination, at least.
I'll leave that to you. I mean, I can run the numbers.
Please run me some
Please,
minutes. Please send it.
It just saves us from calling Terry and asking him to forward the email.
Right.
So, Mr. Rawls, let me get you before it gets too late. You can come up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Rawls, living in Car Street, Palatka. I'm a small business owner in Palatka, huge small business proponent, not a niche market. I would respectfully disagree with you that we're not a niche. We don't hide under a rock. What is for every employee hired, for every job created, what is the actual return on the ROI? What's the ROI for each job? $4,000. So we're only talking 2 jobs a year for the $8,000 for the city, 3 jobs a year for the county. I can tell you that I've been to a lot of meetings at the University of North Florida at the SBDC. I've not seen any of your faces there. The county did have a representative that was supposed to go to the advisory council meetings. Her name was Dana Jones, never showed up for a meeting. There was no follow-through by the county that was paying her to go to that. The buy-in is, this is not a one-way street. You don't just pay the $20,000 and step away from it and hope they do a good job. You guys can all participate. I was nominated as Small Business of the Year by the SBDC to the SBA, the federal SBA. It was selected as the Veteran Small Business of the Year for Northeast Florida. And people that are sitting at this table were invited, and no one went up to Small Business Week at the University of North Florida. So I would advise you guys to start going up there every now and then. There's a lot that takes place. I personally was asked to participate in the Jacksonville Bridges program, the Bridges to Business. I was in the first cohort that graduated from that. I don't do business at Jacksonville Chamber of Commerce. I don't do a lot of business in Jacksonville, but I was the only company in Palatka that participated in that, and that was open not just to myself, but to a lot of businesses. And the reason I went up there was because I was encouraged by the SBDC. We landed a job at Naval Air Station Jacksonville, a very complicated job. And we were able to go up there and build a building with the help of the PTAC. Does anybody know what PTAC stands for? It's your Procurement Technical Assistance Coordinator. You don't have one in Palatka, but you do have one at the SBDC UNF. And I picked the phone up and I called him up, and I told him that I was going to send him some stuff for him to look at. I sent him the contract and I also sent him our capability statement. He reviewed the capability statement and asked me to come up and meet with him. He showed me 6 capability statements and encouraged me to rewrite mine. He didn't rewrite it for me. He encouraged me to take a look at other ones. And I took the parts that I liked and I wrote my own. And I tell you this because this didn't cost me a penny. It didn't cost me a penny the day that I went to the Chamber of Commerce for an education class on QuickBooks and asked more questions than anybody at the table, and was able to give more narrative than the guy teaching the class. And at the end of it, Cheryl Lynch walked up to me, which was my first encounter, by the way, and said, look, you guys need help. I can help you. It won't cost you a penny. And she came to our office every week for almost 18 months. She helped us write policies and procedures for accounts receivable, accounts payable, payroll. She helped straighten out our books because we asked, and it didn't cost this company a dime, not one penny. And what did it do? It saved 14 jobs at the time, and then we eventually bulked up and put a few more jobs on. Don started telling you when we actually got up there and started looking at opening Life's a Stitch. We went to Cheryl, wrote the business plan, she reviewed it, had some commentary, didn't write it for me, handed it back, after 3 or 4 iterations, got in front of a bank, got the loan. So you guys are, I know, I'll go over my 3 minutes. You guys are sitting moaning about $20,000, and she's brought a lot more to your city than that. Forget the county. She's brought a lot more to the city, because our businesses are in the city. Just in Life's a Stitch, you have 3 jobs created. In my company, 18 jobs maintained. I don't know what you guys are moaning about. I would encourage you to start getting yourselves up there, getting involved in the SBDC a little bit. Ask for a seat at the table. Can they have a seat on the advisory council? Any reason they can't be there? Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Nobody's graduating. complaining. We were just.
It's accountability.
You have a question to me?
I
It's
don't
all
have a
about-
question, I have a
I have a
statement.
question.
My statement was that we're not griping and complaining about the money. However, we are asking for accountability.
Last
And I think that's-
September,
and I-
they
I'm
sent the
talking-
city an
I'm
invoice.
talking.
They've been here since
I'm
September.
talking.
They sent the city an invoice. They haven't pulled away. They
I'm talking.
continue.
Hold on.
And I think that my response
Campbell has the
clearly
floor.
clarified what it was that we were seeking or what I was seeking. So when you make a statement, make it directly and not general.
Why not involve yourself in Jacksonville
That's
and go to
fine. If I
UNF?
get the invitation to, I will.
And I absolutely agree. That's why I reached out to Ms. Donaldson first thing today when I got that email,
If I
so
get
I
the
can set up a
information,
meting and start getting more involved.
Small Business
Because
Week is
before I
next
move
month. I
forward
would
with
highly
anything
encourage
else,
you guys to
I'm
go.
gonna
Is
have
there
to
any
have
chance
some
they can sit at
answers.
the table Thursday?
So I reached out and we'll be meeting afterwards
Thank
together.
you, Mr. Rose.
So we can have some more.
All right, Jeff, you can
There
sit
you
down.
go. I'd send out the invite.
Thank you.
You'll have over 500 people up there. You guys can see what they're doing.
We appreciate your comments. Go ahead. Go ahead. You can comment from the commission at this time.
I'd like to say, I hear you all doing a lot of criticism of us sitting here. We have to answer to the whole town. We don't answer to a portion, we answer to everybody. And when people start asking us and doing like you do where we spend money, there is more than a small business thing that people go to. We brought all.
Business thing.
Yes, you know what I'm talking
Please
about.
don't
Because I'm
yell out
old
from
and I don't
there.
always remember all of the words, but you understand what I'm talking about. We bring people in here. We've gone all over places. Most of these people up here work. I'm the only one that is semi-retired, and we have to make a living too. My family has had a business in this town, so when you start talking about business, for 104 years, being the 4 generations of us, and we love this town, and we put time and energy in, and we've been over backwards. We don't have to have extra meetings like we had the other day just to talk to them. I sat on this board and we didn't have extra meetings, workshops. We've done more workshopping and trying to get to where we need to get to do the best for this town. Nobody wants to worry about how much people want to borrow or where their business goes. We just want to make sure that we do the most for as many people as we can take care of. We've been taking care of people all the time. And when I sit here and tell you, for one of my terms, I sat on 26 boards and commissions and tried to run a business, then it's telling you all of us extend ourselves farther than that. We go where our interest is needed, and we have a lot of stuff to take care of for this city. So when you come in and try to dog me out, I don't appreciate it.
I'm not sure what dog me out means if you're talking to me.
Mr. Ross,
You know
can you do me a
I-
favor and not yell out anymore, please? Thank you. Ms. Lynch, come on.
Cheryl Lynch, 900 St. John's Avenue. After our meeting last week, Miss Mary said, Cheryl, don't worry about it. Sometimes the messenger. And I said, it's okay, Miss Mary. Everything happens the way it's supposed to.
I told you everything happens for a reason.
Yep, everything happens the way it's supposed to. I was called a liar last week, and
I did it.
And I think we straightened out the fact that what I was saying was in fact true, that we pulled up the text message and showed that I did try to reach out a couple
No.
times.
You reached out one time.
The emails, the 2 emails before that.
You still spoke untruths.
Okay, here's the thing. If you're gonna call me a liar, you might as well call me a thief. I would like to know what I have to gain by giving you misinformation.
There's a lot of people that say making
And
accurate
if
statements,
I-
they don't have to gain anything.
If I come up here and say that I have said something or done something, it's because I have. You have a woman over there taking minutes. You've got a video camera over there recording the information. And we live in the environment of the Public Information Act. So I did not lie. And when you throw words like that around, it affects the integrity, not just me, but the office of the SBDC. Because if a client comes in and I tell them everything is confidential, they're going to doubt that. And then they're not going to use the service. And it's not going to affect me. it's going to affect the community. And we had that conversation. I don't have a dog in this hunt. I don't live in this community, but I'm here day in and day out fighting for these businesses. The businesses are my main concern of helping them, of getting better with them. If you get information from somebody and they say, well, I haven't, nobody reached out, I haven't followed up, pick up the phone and call me and let me know. Just call me and say, hey, so-and-so contacted me. I guess they need a little bit more help. And I will reach out to them. There are no markers on my hands. I'm not the savior. I'm a resource to be used. That's what I'm here for. I've got a lot of information to share. We've gone through this, and Commissioner Campbell, you said, you know, can these businesses sign a release so you can talk about them? A lot of them don't want to.
And that's fine. That's why I said, could you make it a part of the process? I think for me, I've stated, ma'am, I didn't ask for a specific name or information. I think my request was made, if they allow it to do so, let it be done. If not, we understand how close can you get us to the information that we are requesting. Let that be the fact of what Commissioner Campbell was stating. I didn't ask for specific names. I didn't ask for any of that, unless the people that are using your services are okay with you providing that information to us. That's my position.
Can I finish my?
Sure. Hold on. She has the floor. Ms. Lynch has the floor.
Thank you. The questions that are asked, it's who, it's what. The data that you're going to get is flawed. And I think I spoke to Mr. Folston after the last meeting, and I said because it doesn't include the hours that I talk to the people that are outside the state, outside the county, where does that get captured? So the analysis that I did, I went through every single session and event that I had, and I said, oh, that was for the city. Let me mark that down. That was for the city. If you can't trust that the information I'm giving you is so you can make better decisions, then I might as well not be here. Maybe it's me personally. Maybe we need to get somebody else. You can ask Janice. I've offered to give up my job as much as you think I give this special opportunity up to somebody else. I want what's best for the community. I'm a resource. If I reach out to a client 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, they know where I am. I'm not going to continuously babysit them. When they come in, I tell them it's not my job to babysit you, and you don't report to me. I'm here for as much or as little as you need me. And it's the same thing with y'all. I'd love to sit down and have a workshop at least once, hopefully twice a year, so I can communicate to you and identify what are the trends that are happening in the economy, what's coming down the pike, and how can you plan for all the expansion and all the communities that are going on around you. You're going to have growing pains. I have my ears to the pavement outside this community as well. I'd love to share that information. And I think, Mayor, we agreed that we would start meeting more after the last meeting. We had a discussion that we would attempt to communicate more often so that you can be in the know as to what's going on.
We did.
Love to do that. Love to share the information. You tell me that I'm acting like I'm alone on an island, you know, I feel like Forrest Gump, walking on the bus on the first day of school, and I look to reach out and seats taken, and I look over here and seats taken, and there's Jenny, my business is, saying, come, you can sit here. Which tells a lot that the business community said, hey, come, we can utilize you. We can help you, you know. I would highly recommend talk to more businesses. Get out in your districts. I'd love to talk one-on-one. I'd love to have that conversation to give you an idea of what is actually happening. I don't know everything, but what I know, I share openly and honestly. So if I'm going to come up here and say, okay, if you're going to consider this information, here's some supporting information that you need in order to continue to make the best decisions for the community.
I wanted to remind you, I said a little bit more to you after we left. I said maybe we need to get together and work together more.
Absolutely.
Then I reminded you that I had come to you all and talked to you all helping with our business incubation. And the board said they could not do it for us because I was bringing the information to you all, but they could help with the
technical
technical
assistance.
assistance in it. So it's not that people are trying to pass you all by or do anything. We want the best we can have for the city, and we work hard at that. And people need to understand that we're going in 1,000 different directions to make sure that everybody has everything as much as they need.
Commissioner report.
Well, I think this was the best thing that could have happened as it relates to what has transpired. With the dialogue that we're having, I think in total, it's going to make the city a lot better. We're in the business of building bridges and building partnerships. It should not be no attack either way. And I just think that, I think we're in a better place. We just learned a little bit more about the C.R.A., the fundings, how we fund and how you support those businesses. That was a good thing. So we're finding new things as we continuously move along with these relationships. I just think we're in a better place right now, and I think it's workable. And the meeting, fiscal accountability, that's what we're looking for. And we don't need to get beat up about asking about reports or things of that nature. We are accountable to the citizens of Palatka. And when they pay their tax dollars and we're spending money and we're not getting any reports or dialogue or feedback, we're doing a disservice. So again, I think we're in a better place.
Any other comments?
I don't think it's a matter of us not trusting you. I think it was a matter of you all communicating the information to us. I am happy that we are going to meet. I, as a commissioner, am planning on getting more involved in this process so that we'll know when we're not asking for you to just report to us and we're here to babysit you all either. I'm just glad that we are where we are now and we can continue to move forward. Okay?
Anyone else?
Thank you. If you give me the information about the business week, I'll make it my business to attend as much as I can.
Absolutely.
We attend so many things, and we'd be certainly happy to participate.
And thanks for all
I'll close the comments. One, I don't think you have to justify your existence. Two, I think I spent a lot of time after the meeting talking about how to cultivate relationships, thinking that there was possibly an open gauge of communication going forward. Your comments kind of set back some things. But I will say that the actions of Ms. Donaldson, her report, came really quickly. It came extremely quick compared to the 2.5 years prior that we asked for the information. And so I thank you for your expedience and getting that information to us. Again,
The challenge behind that.
I'm speaking right now. So again, I've pledged my support to you. I've said some things to you to help you along the way in places where you haven't reached, including my offices or my businesses. But I will do everything I can individually, and I think this commission has that same mission, because again, our priority is to create businesses and to help sustain businesses within this community. I wholeheartedly believe that it's on the back of entrepreneurs that this community is going to grow. I will not be apologetic for what truth I speak. Never. What I will say to you is, I'm committed to the relationship. The information is all I've been asking for. I didn't care about whose name. I didn't care about what business or what money or any of that other stuff. I only wanted metrics, simple metrics. It's the same thing that's in the county's report on a regular basis. It took us years to get to the point where it took her hours or a few days to get that information together. Now we have it, so we move forward.
It's a tad incomplete.
I'm still speaking. So we have that information. We're moving forward, and that's where I want us to be. At a point where we move forward, we continue on with what we have, and we try to work what's best for this community. I don't want personalities to get in the way of any of that. I wholeheartedly support the efforts that have been made, and we will continue to support those efforts based upon the recommendations that are put forth today. So from the commission, you have before you a memorandum of agreement. We've had discussion as it relates to this memorandum. Are there any recommendations as we move forward?
None other than the one that we have in place for the CRA funding, how that will be, Jacksonville.
You make that in the form of a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to accept this memorandum of agreement with the amendment of the changes that we use Palatka as in replacement of Jacksonville for the SPDC.
And identify the host for the location of the office.
And identify the host for the location of the office.
It has been a recommendation to the commission
Oh, to the commission.
to execute, to negotiate and execute based upon the terms that you set forth.
Like that.
If you guys don't mind, can I add something? Do you mind recommending that we base it on, I don't know if you guys can get this information, but how many of the businesses that you've already met with, what percentage of them are actually within the TIF district and what percentage of them are out of the TIF district?
That's gonna have to be analyzed on a case-by-case basis based on specific
It's only
address.
can we do it on the 38?
Well, I mean, I can run the addresses. I don't know, I would have to rely on more expertise. to
I
figure
think
out
she
where
stated
that
earlier
district
that she
was.
doesn't know
Ms.
the
Donaldson.
parameters, so I think she need those parameters, because she said she didn't know from the beginning, and I think she did state that earlier, that she doesn't know the parameters of.
District,
Right, she
right.
kind of,
But if you showed me, well, no, then you would be giving away confidentiality.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Don't worry about
The
it.
database is very challenging that we use, so it'd be great if it could quantify what I put in the notes, because if I make comments in the notes and it could pull a report, can't do that.
So the recommendation, the motion, if I'm clear, is for the funding levels at 12,000 from the CRA, 8,000 from the general, recommendation to have 8,000 come from the general fund.
Yes.
To be, and for the terms and conditions discussed and amended today, including the 7th Circuit and Putnam County as the location for jurisdiction, to go into, to be recommended to the commission for adoption.
correct.
Second.
And identify the host for the location, because you brought that up. They wasn't identified.
Okay.
That was part of that.
Okay.
And second. Okay. There's a motion on the floor, second. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just have a procedural question. This is a vote of the CRA to send the memorandum of understanding to the city commission for final approval. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. The Board of County Commissioners is meeting tomorrow on their memorandum of understanding. I would question the procedural here for my vote on this matter to move it forward to you folks. I do not feel comfortable voting on this matter as there's a possible preemption of the vote tomorrow by the Board of County Commissioners.
You don't have a vote tomorrow.
I understand that, but that's just as a procedural matter. And I don't have an issue with this going forward to the city commission, but at the same time, I do have a vote scheduled for my Board of County Commissioners tomorrow.
But the vote on the actions of the agency have nothing to do with funding coming from the county. Those are two separate entities.
My understanding is that at least the thought that I was advised of was that the county's approval was going to be contingent upon the city funding the development center.
We have drafted the memorandum of understanding, and there is a clause in the memorandum of understanding. We took out the language as far as the city, but there is a funding mechanism in there for, I think it's $20,000 from other individuals.
It's the same as the last sentence in your memorandum of understanding. Just says that if the minimum cash match is not met, then the memorandum is void.
That is correct by Ms. Donaldson. But again, it's just a procedural matter for me to vote on the matter before it goes to my Board of County Commissioners.
And this is the item on your consent agenda tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, if he chooses to abstain, I think I understand that his reasoning is that he does not want to be seen as advocating a position one way or the other before his commission votes tomorrow, if I'm understanding it
That
correctly.
is exactly correct. Thank you for the right language, the correct terminology.
Very well. Any further discussion? Questions called, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Yes. We got Mr. Suggs, motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on, tax increment fund financial report.
Oh,
Inspector?
All right, so I just handed you the revenues and expenditures for the TIF fund. This is the same type of report that you're used to seeing quarterly. I wanted to note that your actions made or proposed and then accepted by the commission in December were put into effect in the budget. So that would be the budget amendment that you proposed, and the allocations as such in the expenditure lines. And I don't know if you need to refer back to the budget to help you with the numbers, but if you will see, you can take the original budget and then put the amended, and you will see that that's exactly how much it increased by in the expense lines, as well as in the revenues. I don't know if you have any questions.
is there any way we can get these before?
Yes, so there are, we are in the middle of preparing for an audit, and in addition to that, we have had some turnover in the department. So going forward, it will absolutely be attached to the agenda. There were some corrections that needed to be made, so I wanted to be confident in the report before I handed it to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. Just to let you all know,
I only have one question. What about projects?
yes, so that's one thing that you will see is that there are revenues that are pledged to projects that haven't commenced. This is due to hurricanes. There's been a bunch of different things. Last fiscal year, you had transfers built into your expenditure lines. Those have not yet been realized. Because of the status of the project, it's important that we realize those transfers in the same month that we begin expending money. So you will, let's see, you meet quarterly, so we will probably propose an amendment to be sure that we adjust to make sure that the transfers align with those projects. And that will probably come in June, the end of June.
So currently, certain numbers look more healthier than what they are simply because the projects haven't commenced due to the storm. But once those projects do commence, the lines are going to change based on those expenditures. And as they change, we're going to bring those things back to you in the form of a budget amendment that we know is going to have to be forthcoming once those projects begin to start moving.
Yes, those revenues have already been pledged to projects in previous.
So do we have a list of those projects? Because, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this and hearing you and not knowing what in the world you're talking about.
Okay, that's
To be
okay.
quite honest.
We can get you a list, I'm sure. The transfer lines, if you'll see from budget 17 to 18, you'll see that that didn't carry over, so there's no expenses from 17. We have to be sure that when the year, if there's an expense for some of those projects, we have to make sure that there's money available for them. So we budgeted anticipating these projects. However, they never either didn't start or they didn't expend enough money to absorb the transfer.
So you're looking at page 2, we're looking at fireworks?
No, not fire. So fireworks were actually, and that went to the fund balance. So some of these things, whenever you close out the year, you'll see that their expenditures, it's a transfer to and from, so it'll go out to the fund balance.
So then you're talking about the CDB, no, you're talking about the vault and the P-O-T-A-B, portable, I guess.
Okay, so just looking at these, Logan has these circled here, so this makes it easier on me. The transfer to Better Place, CDBG, that's the community development.
What page again,
block
Jonathan? We're on page 2. We're on back to
I mean, transfers are on 2, and that's, yeah, I'm just trying to get where she is.
page 2 transfers.
Okay, transfers. Is this here?
This is 3 here.
Right here.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. So I think she's talking about the vault and the potable water.
Exactly,
He's going through the
yes.
projects now.
Okay, thank you.
I think what Logan's trying to explain is some of these projects have not commenced, some have commenced. CDBG is actually completed, but I think, and I'm paraphrasing what you just said, not enough of the expenditures hit in last year's budget for that transfer to occur, so it's happening this year. Same amount of money, just getting transferred in a different fiscal year. The potable line project, that was delayed in an effort to get the additional match funding from the Water Management District, as well as lining up the state revolving loan grant slash grant funding. That project is currently underway. Transfer to Better Place south of that, you can't see the whole line there, I apologize, but it's the GL 39101, about 5 from the top for 123,000 and change. That's for the stormwater project that we just completed.
We're on page 3 now.
And that project was delayed because we didn't get favorable bids, so we put it back out to bid and got better numbers.
Is it possible, and it may not be, but is it possible to add a column or in some fashion, otherwise denote contractually committed funds? And I'm simply asking, so for instance, some of these line items make it appear as though you got a boatload of money sitting there and it's totally available. Matter of fact, it says available. But in real life, it's not available because it's committed, contractually committed, or committed by action of the commission. And just since this is public record and it's out there, I'm wondering about the feasibility of adding a column that says, an additional column that says contractually committed or project committed or something like that, so that it doesn't appear as though you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting out there that are just ready to be spent on something that's not already planned.
Go ahead, Logan.
Okay, I was going to speak to a couple of these. Whenever you see the really large amounts, this is kind of end of the year process also, because we have to look at the expenditures that take place in that fiscal year. It's a part in closing out your year. So yes, we do budget, and it looks like maybe there's no expenditures, but if you look at it's called transfer to. So you're actually going to transfer this money at the end of the year to a different project which may lie or be housed in an opposite fund. So even though the expenditures are showing as 0 on here, once we transfer this budget to, or your cash to another fund, that's where it's going to be realized. So a lot of, to speak to you in your comments, is that if you're not familiar with the financials and when it says transfers, that could be something that you have questions on. But some of this stuff can't be done until the end of your fiscal year because you don't know exactly how much. I would hate to go ahead and transfer, if you will see on the 3rd page, $521,000. I would hate to transfer that over right now in this fiscal year without having the actuals, because what if we only spend $400,000? We don't want to. A budget is just your plan. It's really to be sure you budget conservatively, make sure you have enough money so that you can cover those